Folks round Banner Elk don't speak my name no more. Not the young ones, anyhow. They don't even know it. The old ones, those with silver woven through their hair like frost on pine boughs, they whisper it through cracked teeth as if the syllables might burn their tongues. For them, my name is a warning, more than a memory. Ma Lark. That's what they called me once, though I ain't nobody's ma, and I damn sure ain't larked since before the first European set boot to these hills. But names stick to old women the way burrs cling to wool, stubbornly, senselessly, and long after usefulness has faded. I've been here. Well, time runs different when you've outlived the calendar. Sometimes I wake and feel the centuries like dust on my bones, layers and layers, each one heavier than the last. These mountains shaped me, kept me, bound me. And in return I kept them too, protected them, loved them, hated them, bled for them. Nothing alive in these ridges is older than me, except for the things sleeping under them. I didn't ask for that burden, weren't nobody else qualified. That particular October day started quiet, like the mountain was holding its breath. Fog clung low to the ground, thick enough to hide a body if you laid down slow. Leaves were halfway through turnin', red as meat and gold as old whiskey. Squirrels chattered high in the oaks, frantic, warning each other about a cold snap coming down the ridge. There was a smell, too, wet, metallic, something that didn't belong, something excited. I felt the disturbance before the visitor ever stepped foot on my land. Fear's a strange scent. Most humans never learn to smell it properly. They mistake it for sweat, or panic, or desperation. But to a creature like me, something half woman, half mountain marrow, fears a lantern in the fog. You don't see it. You feel its heat. And this one was burnin' hot. I reached for my cane, gnarled rhododendron root older than the church on the hill, and stepped onto the porch. The boards creaked under my feet. Everything creaks around me. Old things complain to other old things. At the edge of the clearing, a girl stood shivering. She weren't from here. Could tell that right off. Didn't carry herself like mountain folk. Too stiff, too anxious, like she expected the trees to rush her from behind. Her hair was tied back in a messy bun, jacket thin, jeans torn in that store-bought way kids think looks rugged. But it was her eyes that struck me first. Red from crying, wide from seeing something she couldn't make sense of. "Your Ma Lark?" she asked, voice trembling. "That's one of the names." Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. I didn't know where else to go." "They never do," I said. "Come closer, for your teeth start chattering out your skull." She stepped forward slow, almost reverent, like she feared the ground might swallow her. "Smart girl." "What's your name?" I asked as she climbed the porch steps. "Delia." I nodded. "Tell me what's got fear gnawing holes in your insides, Delia." She hesitated, hands twisting together, fingers pale in the cold. "It's my brother," she whispered. "Caleb." I said nothing, letting her words come natural. "He's sick," she went on. "Only it's not sickness. Not like anything I've seen." Her breath hitched. "Something's wrong under his skin." A quiet draft moved through the trees behind her, but they didn't rustle, didn't sway, listening. The mountain always listens. "How long's he been changin'?" I asked. 3 days. That fast, damn it. "And you brought him medicine from town?" "He didn't take it," Delia said. "He couldn't swallow. Not right." She didn't notice the way I stiffened, but the mountain did. "Where's he now?" "In a cabin outside Banner Elk. He started screaming, and then he stopped, and Tears spilled down her cheeks. I think the ground moved, under him, like it was breathing. Her hands flew to her mouth as if afraid of her own words. I exhaled slow. Come, I said. We best move quick. Delia blinked. You'll help him? I'll see what's left to help. I stepped off the porch, the fog partin' around me like it had been waitin'. Delia followed close, terrified to fall behind. As we took the trail down hollow, she spoke in broken pieces. He moved here first, she said. Got a job with construction. They're expanding the resort up near the ridge. New cabins, new roads, new wounds, I muttered. What? Nothing. Go on. He called me 2 nights ago, she said. Said his chest hurt. Said he felt something crawling inside him. Her voice cracked. He thought he had a parasite. He was half joking. She wiped her nose on her sleeve. But yesterday, he sounded scared. Said the ground outside was warm. She shuddered. Warm. In October. I stopped in the middle of the trail. The forest around us stilled. No wind, no birds, no sound but Delia's ragged breath. Warm how? I asked. Like it felt alive. It was all I needed. We kept walking. Delia stumbled on a root once, but I caught her by the elbow. My grip probably hurt. I ain't gentle without intending to be. You ain't from these mountains, so I said. No. You believe in things that ain't supposed to be real? I do now. That was good. Belief alone don't save nobody, but disbelief kills quick. We crossed a narrow footbridge over a small stream. The water rushed cold and angry. Streams always get agitated when the deep roots stir. Delia noticed it too. Is something wrong with the water? The water knows what's comin', I said. She didn't ask anything else after that. Banner Elk used to be a quiet place before folks got the itch for more. More houses, more stores, more ski resorts, more money carved from the bones of the land. But expansion always has a price. Humans think mountains are stone, unmoving, uncaring. But mountains are alive in ways no one teaches in school. They feel every cut, every drill, every root ripped from the earth. And under Banner Elk lies the oldest root of all. The heart under the hill, first root that ever took hold in these Appalachians. Old as bedrock, older even. A hunger without a mouth, a mind without a brain, a pulse without a heart. And for centuries, I kept it sedated, quiet, bound in a sleep so deep even earthquakes couldn't wake it. But something had stirred it, and I feared Delia's brother was the first of many to pay for it. We reached the cabin at dusk. It sat crooked on its stilts, leaning downhill like it wished to slide back into the forest. Porch sagging, chimney cracked, the whole structure smelled of damp wood and something sweet rotting. Delia's breath quickened. He's inside. I nodded. Stay behind me. The door was cracked open a finger's width, just enough for the smell to seep out. Rot, soil, sap, blood. Not human death. Something deeper. I pushed the door open slow. The cabin was dim, lit only by what little daylight filtered through the grime-coated window. And on the bed, Delia gasped, clapping her hands to her mouth. Caleb lay half-covered in blankets, shirtless, skin pale as wax. Sweat glistened across him, but it weren't sweat entirely, more like sap, thick and amber. But worse were the movements. His chest was rippling, slow, undulating, like vines pushing under fragile skin. I stepped forward. Delia reached to follow, but I stopped her with a hand raised. Stay, I said. She froze, trembling. I leaned close to Caleb, sniffed the air above him. Root sickness, I murmured. The deep kind. Delia made a small wounded sound. Caleb's eyes flew open, yellow, veined, empty. Easy, boy, I said. But his back arched like something inside him was trying to stand upright against his spine. His jaw strained. His ribs bulged. I grabbed Delia and threw her behind me just as something punched through Caleb's chest. Not bone, not flesh. A root. Pale, wet, pulsing at the tip. Delia screamed. Caleb convulsed, another root tearing free from his side, then another from his shoulder. The bed groaned as tendrils burrowed into the floorboards. Delia rushed forward. I caught her again and held her firm. "That's not your brother anymore." It is, she sobbed. "No, what's wearing him ain't human." Caleb spasmed violently, head snapping back, mouth opening in a silent scream as his throat bulged. Something wooden pushed against the skin of his neck. He was being hollowed, replaced, claimed. The floor beneath my feet shivered. The roots under the cabin were answering the roots inside the boy, and the thing beneath Banner Elk was awakening. I clutched my cane tightly. "Delia," I said, voice low, "we need to run." "But look at him," I snapped. She forced herself to look. Caleb's face, once human, was stretching thin, his cheeks split open like wet bark, sap leaking down his jaw. His jawline softened, bone melting into pliant pulp, flesh becoming fiber. Her horror turned to understanding. Then grief, then survival. She nodded once. We bolted for the door. As we crossed the threshold, the cabin shuddered violently, floorboards cracking as roots thick as arms surged upward, tearing through the bed, the walls. And then the entire structure collapsed inward, swallowed by a nest of writhing roots. Delia screamed his name. I grabbed her hand and dragged her away from the splintering ruin. Behind us the ground pulsed, awake, hungry, listening. And far beneath Banner Elk, something old and terrible stretched for the first time in centuries. The heart under the hill had tasted a life again, and it wanted more. There are things the young of Banner Elk still whisper about that season, things that came before the snows, before Christmas lanterns lit the eaves, before blood pooled black in the moonless hours. But all of them begin with the same memory. The air felt wrong. Not cold, not warm, hollow, like something had scooped the substance out of it. To Ma Lark, the air spoke clearer than any gossiping lip in town. She felt it the moment she crested the ridge and saw the valley stretched below her, smoking gently with early frost. Her joints ached, not with age but with omen, the old ache, the one she hadn't felt since her hair still ran black down her shoulders. She muttered to the trees, "Something stirring, something hungry." The trees did not answer. She hadn't expected them to. The woods had grown tight-lipped these past weeks. Even the loam felt clenched under her boots. She made her way down the trail anyway, following the path only she still used. A switchback through rhododendron the deer avoided. A slope of shale no hiker touched. A tangle of roots that shifted subtly underfoot like something alive. These were not obstacles. They were reminders, boundaries, markings of a pact older than any church bell or town charter. She reached the outskirts of Banner Elk by late morning. The town was waking slow, as if still half dreaming. Smoke lifted from a few chimneys. A railroad truck rumbled past, its engine coughing like a dying beast. But most of all, Ma noticed the absence. No crows calling, no dogs barking, no children running between houses, throwing stones at rusted road signs. A hush had settled, thick, uneasy. She walked the main road without trying to hide. The townsfolk pretended not to stare, but she saw the glances from behind drawn curtains, the quick dips of heads when she passed. They respected her, in the way you respect a blade, even one rusted and old. It wasn't until she reached the general store that someone dared speak. Elias Boone stood on the porch, arms crossed, eyes rimmed with sleepless red. He was a large man, shoulders like stacked timber, but worry had bent him in the middle. Ma Lark had delivered him into the world 72 years ago, screaming and blue-lipped. He nodded a greeting. "Morning, Ma." "Mornin'," she croaked back. You look like 10 miles of rough gravel, boy. Feels about right. Elias exhaled through his nose, his breath puffed white. You come down to see for yourself? Figured I should. Elias rubbed his jaw. Did you feel it? Hard not to. Ma Lark leaned her weight on her staff. What's been taken? His face twitched. 3 deer from the outlying farms, 2 dogs, and he hesitated. And Mary Lou Carter's baby goat. She found the pen busted from the inside. Ma grunted. Not the work of bobcat nor bear. No, Elias said tightly. It ain't just missing livestock, though. Ma met his eyes fully for the first time. She saw the truth there, raw, terrified. What else? Elias swallowed hard. People been hearin', a call, out in the timber, a voice they know, someone who's supposed to be dead. Ma's breath stilled. A lure? He nodded. My brother heard our mama, said she was callin' from Henson's Creek. Mama's been gone 30 years. And he went lookin'? Ma asked. He did. And he ain't back? Elias lowered his head. Ma Lark closed her eyes for a long moment. Then she murmured something old, older than the plank floors beneath their feet, older than the settlement, even older than the tribe whose name the mountains still carried like a scar, a word that was less spoken than remembered. That thing shouldn't be wakened, she whispered to the horizon. Not yet. Elias stared. You know what it is. Reckon I do. She tapped her staff against the wooden porch. You best gather the others. Tell 'em Ma Lark is callin' a meetin' tonight at the old lodge. They'll come if they still got a pinch of sense in 'em. Elias nodded once, then hurried back inside. Ma Lark, meanwhile, began the slow walk toward the woods beyond the mill. Not to hunt the thing. No, that would come later. First she needed to see the place where the world had thinned. The closer she drew to Banner Elk's timberline, the more the trees seemed to lean inward, arching like ribs over a wound. The moss was dying, not brown, but ashen, as if burned without heat. Even the creek beside her moved strangely, the surface trembling though no wind stirred. Ma paused beside the bank. Show me, she whispered. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the water shifted ever so slightly, bending around an invisible obstruction. Not an object, a presence. Ma inhaled through her teeth. So you've slithered back. The creek hissed, a sound like bubbles popping against a drowned mouth. She stepped deeper into the woods until the world grew dim, not from lack of sunlight, but from the sheer heaviness of the air. Each breath felt thick, like she was inhaling damp cloth. The smell hit next, copper and earth, a scent she knew too well, blood. She emerged into a clearing she had not visited in 60 years. The old stone ring still sat there, half collapsed and smothered in vines. Once it had been a full circle, carved by hands long gone, ritual stone, boundary stone, a seal of sorts. Now it was broken, split clean down the middle. The forest floor bore marks, deep gouges in the soil clawed or dragged or wrenched. Ma knelt beside one. The outline was almost human, almost. But the toes were elongated, curled inward like the talons of a hawk. A shiver raced her spine. Something had crawled out, something that had been beneath for a very long time. She touched the stone. It pulsed faintly, like a cooling heart. Then she spoke aloud, her voice low and steady. Old friend, or old enemy, whichever you mean to be this season, you've chosen a wicked time to rise. There was no answer. Only the sound of leaves rustling inward, like breath being drawn. By dusk, lanterns glowed in the windows of the old lodge, a squat building of river stone and cedar beams. Snow crept down the wind, not falling yet, but threatening. Inside, the entire town had gathered. Farmers with dirt still under their nails, university students with frayed jackets, old women clutching rosaries. Children pressed close to their mothers' skirts. They parted down the middle as Ma Lark entered. She walked to the front, her staff clicking against the oak boards. No one spoke. No one dared. When she turned to face them, her features were lit by lantern glow, deep-set eyes, creased skin, hair the color of old moonlight. But her gaze held a sharpness that cut right through fear. "You all know why you're here," she began. A murmur rippled through the hall. "Something is stirring in the woods, something old, older than your churches, older than these towns, older even than the tribes who once walked these hills." Someone near the back swallowed audibly. Ma continued. "A thing born from the land itself, back when the mountains weren't but smoke and fire. It sleeps between seasons, long sleeps, deep ones, and it don't take kindly to being disturbed." A woman raised a trembling hand. "So what woke it?" Ma Lark's jaw tightened. "That's what I aim to find." Murmur again, nervous, fear thickening. She lifted her staff, pounding it once against the floor. The sound echoed like thunder. "Hear me clear. This is no animal you can shoot, no man you can reason with. It is a hunger that remembers being worshipped, a shadow that recalls being fed." Silence pressed in. "If you hear a voice in the woods," she said slowly, "a voice belonging to your mama or your child or your sweetheart long buried, do not follow it. It ain't them. It never was." Some people were crying now. Ma softened, just slightly. Her tone drifted towards somber. "You got every right to be afraid. I won't lie to you. People are gonna die before this is done. But I swear on the marrow of my bones, I will not let this thing take the whole town. I'm too damn old and too damn stubborn to let Banner Elk fall to something that should have stayed buried." A young man stood. "What can we do?" Ma turned her gaze to the window, where the forest pressed up against the edge of town like a dark tidal wave. "You can lock your doors," she said quietly. "Keep your fires lit, stay together, and pray." "Pray to who?" someone whispered. Ma's lips curled. "To whatever might still be listening." She stepped down from the podium. "And pray I find the thing's heart before it finds yours." That night, as the town huddled indoors, Ma walked alone toward the mountain. Snow began to fall, slow and heavy, muffling her footfalls. She'd barely reached the tree line when a scream ripped through the dark. Not from the woods, from town. She spun, staff raised, heart clenched tight. A second scream, this one cut short, swallowed mid-breath. The thing had come early. It wasn't waiting for night's deep. Ma rushed back as fast as her legs would carry her. Lanterns flared, shadows moved, people shouted behind shuttered windows. Then she saw the shape dragging itself down the main street. Tall, twisted, bones too long to be human, skin the color of fresh rot, stretched thin over a frame that seemed to shift as it moved. And atop its shoulders, a face. Her breath caught, not monstrous, not alien, a face she knew, one she wished she'd never see again. It smiled at her with lips that were not lips at all, just pulled flesh. "Ma Lark," it crooned, in her mother's voice, and then without warning, it charged. The creature barreled down the snow-flecked street with a terrible, lurching grace, like a deer whose limbs had been rearranged, bones lengthened, joints reversed. Every step cracked the frozen ground, every breath steamed from the torn skin slit where its throat should have been. Yet the voice, that was perfect, warm, familiar, cruel. "Ma Lark," it called again, lilting, tender, dripping with false memory. "Come on home, baby. Been waiting for you." Ma Lark planted her boots in the center of Banner Elk's main road, bracing against the charging mass of ancient hunger. Lanterns flickered around her, thrown by terrified townsfolk peeking from behind shutters. Somewhere, a child whimpered. Somewhere else, a door slammed. Ma didn't flinch. When the thing lunged, she swung her staff low, sweeping its legs out from under it. The impact split the air like a felled tree. The creature tumbled, limbs buckling like wet branches. But it did not fall as it should have. Its body twisted midair, reorienting itself like something boneless, and landed on all fours with a grotesque scrape of claws against ice. It grinned again through that stolen face. "Oh, you always were the sharp one." Ma spat into the snow. "You ain't my mama. You ain't even a memory." The creature's grin widened, stretching the skin until it tore along the cheekbone. No blood spilled, only steaming black vapor rising like breath from a furnace. Then it came again. Ma Lark whispered 3 syllables under her breath, soft, sharp, bitter as pine sap, words she hadn't spoken since her knees could still kneel and her heart still beat fast for something other than fear. The staff ignited, not with flame dash, with color. A ripple of deep green, old green, the green of untouched hollows and forgotten valleys. It surged outward, coating the wood, crawling into the carved grooves of symbols long lost to the living. The creature reached her. She met it head on. She drove the staff into its chest. The thing screamed, not in pain but in anger, like a cave collapsing on itself. It staggered back, black steam trailing from the wound. But as Ma watched, its flesh knit again, the hole closing like melting wax. Her stomach turned. "Of course," she muttered, "it remembers how to heal." The creature lunged again. This time it grabbed her. Its fingers, 6 on each hand, ending in curved claws, wrapped around her torso, squeezing tight enough that her ribs creaked. It lifted her into the air, dangling her like a child's doll. And in her mother's voice, dripping with feigned sweetness, it whispered, "You got old, Lark." Ma grimaced. "You ain't seen nothing of me yet." She slammed her forehead into its borrowed face. The skin split with a wet sound. The creature howled and dropped her, stumbling back. Ma hit the ground hard but rolled with the fall. Her bones might have been aged, but they were her bones, and she'd taught them to obey. She got to her feet slowly. "You crawled out too early," she rasped. "Still weak, still learning the shape you want to wear." Its head jerked, cracking sideways. "You will feed me." "Not tonight." Doors flung open across the street. Elias Boone stormed out, shotgun in hand. Behind him came Ruth Carter wielding an iron poker. A cluster of university kids brandished axes meant for splitting firewood. Even old Ida May, who hadn't left her house since the summer of '89, stepped out clutching a rusted kitchen knife. Fear had driven them into hiding, but fury, simple human fury, dragged them back out. "Ma!" Elias bellowed. "Get back!" "No," Ma barked, raising her hand. "Stay inside, damn you." But they wouldn't listen. People never listened when fear turned to rage. The creature turned toward them, twitching with delight. So many voices, it purred. So many memories to borrow. It sprinted. Elias fired, but the blast barely slowed it. The buckshot peppered its hide, some sinking into the wet flesh, others ricocheting harmlessly. Still, the townsfolk didn't retreat. They yelled, swung, stabbed, threw whatever their hands could find. Snow churned beneath their boots. Lanterns toppled, spilling light across the chaos. The creature carved through them like a scythe. One of the college boys swung an axe. The creature caught it midair, twisted it out of his hands, and raked its claws across his chest. He crumpled, gasping. Ruth Carter struck its shoulder with the poker. The creature didn't even flinch, just backhanded her so hard she hit the snow and didn't rise. Elias fired again, and again. The creature rushed him at impossible speed. Ma Lark felt the scream rip from her throat before she even knew she'd made a sound. But she could not run fast enough. The creature reached Elias, lifted him by the throat, and leaned in. Its face shifted, skin rippling, until it wore the face of Elias's dead brother. "Miss me, Eli?" it whispered. Elias's eyes went wide with horror. Then Ma struck. She slammed her staff into the ground, and the earth answered. Roots burst through the snow, thick, gnarled, ancient. They wrapped around the creature's legs, its arms, its torso, tightening like the grip of something long buried. The creature shrieked, not with fear, anger, pure, molten anger. Its skin melted and reformed rapidly, bones reshaping in frantic waves as it tried to find a body strong enough to break free. Ma strode forward, voice shaking the windows. "You listen to me, you old bastard. You know me. You remember me." The creature froze, just for a fraction of a second. And that was enough. Ma's voice deepened, layered with memory and power. "I fed you once. I bound you once. I buried you once. And you repaid me by taking what wasn't yours." Around them, the roots tightened further. The earth groaned. "You owe me a debt," Ma hissed, "and I've come to collect." The creature's head snapped toward her. The stolen face peeled back, revealing something beneath, something without shape, a shifting void filled with teeth and hunger and whispers. "You left me," it snarled, "left me in the dark." "You needed to sleep," Ma said, "and the world needed the peace." The creature's limbs trembled, straining against the roots. "You think to bury me again?" Ma shook her head. "No, this time I aim to end you." She lifted her staff with both hands. The green glow deepened, turning almost black. "Ma!" Elias gasped from the snow. "Stay put," she croaked. "This part ain't for mortal eyes." She drove the staff into the creature's chest, deeper than before, far deeper than any ordinary strike should reach. The wood slid into that impossible flesh, as if piercing mud. The creature screamed, a sound that rattled the windows and cracked the ice on the creek half a mile away. Its body convulsed. Limbs elongated, then shrank. Its torso split down the center and tried to reform around the staff like a mouth, trying to swallow the weapon whole. Ma held fast. Her voice became a chant, low, gravelly, older than the mountains that cradled the town. Words from the first night. Words taught to her by a woman whose bones had been dust long before the settlers came. The creature writhed. The ground shuddered. Snow spiraled upward in reverse, sucked toward the wound in its chest. And then, a crack, like thunder, like stone splitting. From within the creature something pulsed. A heart, not flesh, stone. A black geode glowing faintly from within, pulsing with ancient hunger. "That's your core," Ma growled. "Your anchor, your curse." The creature's scream became desperate, high, piercing. Ma tightened her grip. "You had your time," she whispered, "and I ain't letting you have another." Then she said the final word, the severing word. The staff flared, green erupting into blinding white. The heart cracked, once, twice, then shattered into dust. The creature let out one last hollow exhale. Its body collapsed inward, folding like a deflating hide. Limbs curled, spine arched, skin dissolved. In seconds, it became a heap of blackened soil steaming in the cold. The roots released and retreated into the ground. Silence fell. True silence. Elias limped over, blood on his collar and tears in his beard. "Ma, is it dead?" She stared at the smoldering mound. "For now," she answered honestly. "Dead is something that old can be." He swallowed. "And you?" Ma looked at her hands. They trembled. The staff's glow was gone. Its carvings looked deeper, hungrier, as if some part of the creature had crawled into it. "I'm still here," she said. But her voice carried the weight of years she hadn't yet lived. The townsfolk gathered slowly, injured but alive. They stared at her with something beyond fear. Reverence, maybe. Awe. Gratitude. Ruth Carter, bruised and limping, bowed her head. "You saved us, Ma." Ma Lark shook her head. "No," she said softly. "I just bought you time. Bought the land time. That's all I ever could do." Elias frowned. "What happens now?" Ma lifted her gaze to the forest, where the shadows watched, wary. "Now," she said, "Banner Elk rebuilds, and I go back to my mountain." She turned away, snow crunching beneath her boots. Behind her, the townsfolk whispered her name like a prayer. Ahead of her, the woods whispered something back, a welcome, a warning, a memory. She walked into the dark, neither hero nor villain, only what she'd always been, a witch, a keeper, a witness to the old blood of the hills, and somewhere deep beneath the earth, in the place where roots touched stone, something ancient exhaled its last, or perhaps its first. Only Ma Lark heard it, only she understood, and only she smiled.